Welcome to another edition of Small Talk for You. This morning I wanted to continue with the Seaside tutorial and take a look at adding a custom session so that we can have an easy login screen where a user going to the login screen will be directed back into the main view, and users going to the main view will never even know the login screen exists or not be able to get past it. First thing we need to do though is make a small change to the configuration. If you go to the Seaside blog application, you notice my latest edition has a prerequisite of Seaside session app, and the reason for that is that otherwise I can't create a subclass here, blog server session. If you look at the class definition, it is a subclass of WA session. That won't be visible unless you add that prerequisite. So that's something you'll have to do. You'll have to go into the application edition manager and add a prerequisite, and I've created a new edition to reflect that. Once I did that, I created my subclass, and over here on the instance side I just have accessing methods for the current user. Eventually I'm going to hook this up so we can check the current user. Today we're just going to go through the exercise of adding two things: the custom session and a login object. Now the login object is an interesting beast all by itself. Let's go up here. We've added another WA component subclass, and we've given it an instance variable of user so that we can check the logged in user against the cache of users we have. And I've gone ahead and initialized release here and made sure that I'm holding a blog user. In rendering, this is the interesting part. This is kind of where things really look very nice in Seaside management. When you create a form, it's very much like creating a dialog box on a GUI system. I have here class login. I've given it a class so that, again, somebody with CSS skills could clean this up. I'm setting up a paragraph and a form, and notice I set up the form the same way I set up paragraphs or divs or anything else. I hand a block to the form :message, and everything within that block will be put into a form. Everything within the block to this paragraph will be in a paragraph, and so on. So my form has a table, and then I set up the table row to render the username, render the password, and render the buttons. Notice the way I'm structuring this. I'm making sure that I have different methods to render the input fields and the buttons and everything. Let's go to username. I just have a text with a string and then a text input of username, and of username self-user tells it where to take the data and store it. So if you think about this in terms of setting up a user interface, you always have to structure your application so that the input field you paint on the screen has some data object behind it that you're going to store the data in. This is how you do it in Seaside. Same thing for the password. And notice I have password input so that you get asterisks instead of plain text. Then finally buttons. And buttons here I have a submit button. Its callback is validate login, and its value is login. And this guy's callback is just to go to the blog server, because if you hit cancel, well, you're not logging in, you just want to go to the main view. A couple of things going on here. One, the way buttons work is with callbacks. Again, just a block, very much like the way a GUI would work. And over here, my callback is a call, and a call just says replace the current user interface component with whatever I'm putting in here in this block, so that we more or less make it so that the new canvas will replace this existing one. That's about all we need to talk about with that right now. Let's just go on to validate login. This is just a typical kind of method that goes ahead and goes to blog storage, checks the current user against the one that's trying to log in. Nothing exciting going on there. The real action comes in here. I went ahead and I added my blog login to my list of views, and if you see how I did that, I go to the class side of this guy and I added the same kind of initialize method over here where I just registered him. That's half the battle though. What I have to do if I want to use my custom session is I have to go into the configure screens here. So if I go into configure, let me move this up so you can see everything, and I want to scroll down this list. If I scroll down, you see that somewhere in here I have blog login, blog view. I want to go into login. We're going to do exactly the same thing for login and view, so we're going to have to duplicate this. First, we're going to scroll down until we find our session. Notice session class is WA session. I want to override that, and this changes this into a menu button, so I can change that to my existing session there. Then down here at the bottom, and I'll make this smaller so you can actually see it. So let's scroll down. Having made that smaller, if I scroll down, you see the apply button. I hit apply, and now I've finished configuring it. I'm going to do the same thing for blog view. Scroll down again, change my session over here. Again, it's kind of irritating that I have to scroll down, but it's easy enough. Go to there, make sure I change the input focus, and hit apply. Now, if I go over here to the top, let's just go all the way back out to home. And you'll see that blog login will take me there, and blog view will take me there. And notice that I have this filtering set up. I didn't actually rerun my workspace script. I reset this up fresh today, so I don't have any posts in here. But you see I'm getting the two different things, one for login, one for view. And that's pretty much the way I want it. Now you might think I'm not doing anything with login, and that's correct. It's because that's a subject for the next screencast. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with whatever small talk you're using.